So for anybody listening, I'm Dr. Jacob Long. I practice in Castle Rock, Colorado, and I graduated from Parker University in 2019. But that feels like 10 years ago with all the chaos
Yeah.
of COVID and all that. Um, so I have the pleasure of talking to Dr. to be Rachel.
That's weird.
Um, yeah. Do you do you want to introduce yourself? All that I know about you is that you're currently a Parker student,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not even sure exactly how far along you are in your journey there. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Well, my name's Rachel Imes. I'm halfway through Tri-4 right now. So I started at Parker right when everything closed down. So I started immediately online. Everything was online, um, which was really awesome, actually. It was really
Really?
great. Well, it was great in that it's a lot of school and there's a certain amount of flexibility that happens when things get to be online. You get to sort of work within your own strengths and when timing works well for you. And it was really great too that it happened. So I started in May, right when everything closed, right when we went all online. And yeah, it was awesome because it gave you something to do, honestly, when everything else was closed. And there was a huge sense of community when everything felt like it was like getting smaller and smaller. And it did in some ways. And, things got refined and sort of filtered out. And it was great to get to bond with people, even if we'd never met in person for the first like month that we knew each other. Yeah.
Wow. Did you guys have like a Facebook forum or a text group,
Hmm.
or how did you guys kind of stay close knit if you were meeting or even not meeting, but just kind of
Yeah.
communicating virtually, whatever you were doing? How did you do that?
Yeah. So we have a group me. So my whole class has a group me together. So that was one way we did it when it was leading up to the beginning of school. We would do group dates on Zoom. So we would all get on together and like go around and share facts or play games on Zoom to get to know each other. And then we would go out and we would play volleyball and things. We'd go to different apartment complexes in the evenings and go get physical and play sports a little bit. So we did meet each other, but it was also really nice to just have a support system for school, even though I didn't meet everybody. I still haven't met everybody. It's like a year and a half in, and I still haven't met everybody, but it doesn't feel like I haven't met everybody yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I
Yeah.
mean, that's such a huge part of the Parker experience that I really enjoyed,
Yeah.
that I didn't really get in undergrad as much. But in
Yeah.
grad school, it's like, well, in chiropractic school, you're in the same classes and the same
Hmm.
labs with the same people uh,
Yeah.
every day, and so
Yeah.
you grow pretty close. And so that was something that I really cherished about my time at Parker during and
Hmm.
after. So yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad that you have that community because that was one of the biggest things for me. And after you graduate, it's another thing that needs to continue
Yeah.
for your own health, but learning how to build that community, yourself is part of that process that I've
Hmm.
found out. But so you're at Parker University. Why are you there? You want to study chiropractic, I assume.
Hmm.
How did you get introduced to chiropractic, and what made you want to choose it as a career and as a lifestyle?
Yeah. Well, I'm from Dallas, so choosing Parker as a school was a pretty seamless transition just because I
Sounds
was
like it.
already here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working. I actually, my undergrad is in literature, so I don't have a science background. So I had to take a lot of prerequisite courses that luckily Parker does kind of streamlined. So I got them all done in 2 trimesters. Um, I don't know. I found network spinal actually. It's how I um was like, I have to be a chiropractor. Like this is it. Anything else is just going to be less than, and I will be unsatisfied forever. So I found practice here, Dr. Amy and Tyler Lewis.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I hung out with them
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
time I got care there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So spend a lot of time. They're really good friends of mine now. So I spend a lot of time with them and in their practice and shadowing and learning from them. And I started care about maybe 6 or 7 months before I started the prerequisite program for chiropractic school. Yeah. So I started care. It took me a while to admit that I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And then when I did, it just kind of the ball just started rolling. And then it pretty effortlessly has just continued to roll and like gain momentum and pick up speed and more and more. Um, yeah. And then honestly, I feel super lucky that everything's online still
Mm,
because it just makes everything so simple, especially knowing going in that I wanted to practice network spinal. That's not to say that I haven't learned a lot from my other classes
mm,
too, but knowing that a vast majority of the training for the technique that I'm going to be practicing is outside of school,
mhm.
having everything be online gives me a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom to go pursue those things just within my first chunk of time in school. So it's made everything really accessible and sort of like very doable, very doable the way everything's worked out so far. Yeah.
Good. That sounds amazing. Yeah, and
Hmm.
that's more of a rare experience these days. I'm sure that you found from talking to maybe some of your classmates, not everybody has a chiropractic experience really
Yeah.
when they start
Yeah.
chiropractic school. And so you know, that's fortunate for the profession because it's attractive to people that haven't even experienced it. Um,
Yeah.
that means that, in some sense, the
Something's
profession
happening.
must be doing pretty well,
Yeah.
to attract
Yeah.
people that haven't even had that experience when,
Yeah.
in the early days of chiropractic, you've lost your mind unless you've had, a real experience that changed your life. The only
Yeah.
people that would dare to become a chiropractor, when it first started were,
Yeah.
people that had life-changing experiences or, of themselves or their family. So, that's
Mhm.
really awesome that you have that, and that gives you, a deeper why a lot of the times,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get through the studies and the monotony of,
Yeah.
rote memorization and the things that it requires to to pass boards and to pass
Yeah.
exams and things like that. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you had that
Yeah.
experience. And I can tell you, at Mile High, network spinal is very well represented
Yeah.
at Mile High. That being said, every technique bend is welcome. At
Yeah.
Mile High, and we try. I mean, I'm sure I speak for the whole team when we try to incorporate every technique
Yeah.
possible. And that includes, the tonal techniques, that includes
Hmm.
very structurally focused techniques, Gonstead, whatever it is, and you name it, and hopefully it's represented at
Yeah.
Mile High, and that's sort of the vision from Mile High as well. But yeah, so will this be so September will be Mile High, the event?
Mhm.
Will this be your first Mile High?
I did watch some of the speakers last year virtually, but my first in person will be this year. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm super
Did
excited.
anybody stick out? Well, I'm sure Donnie stuck out to you if you saw
Yeah.
any of those virtual
Doesn't he
ones.
always stick out?
Right. Yeah.
I watched Matthew Mancuso's also. That
Yeah.
was awesome. Yeah, I loved his. Um, yeah, that one was really awesome. I was super
Yeah.
stoked
He
listening
won
to
the
him.
doctor
Yeah,
speaker contest. So every year there's
yeah,
submissions from students and doctors. So yeah, last year was Dr. Matthew Mancuso, and I really
yeah.
enjoyed his seeing it live was really cool. You could just
I bet it
on the
was.
stage. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really awesome. Um, but yeah, and the student for last year was Sarah Parsons. I
Hmm.
can't remember which school she went to, but I thought she rocked the house. If you get a chance to check out her talk, it was
Yeah.
really great too. Um, but yeah, is there anybody that's speaking this year that you're really excited to hear? Donnie's a given. I'm very excited to hear him speak every time he gets a
Yeah.
phone. You know.
Yeah. Um, I've heard a lot about Dr. Manning, Katina Manning.
Oh yeah,
I'm really excited for that. And Dr. Mo also.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who just went on like a trip to the Prana Foundation, the retreat that just happened.
Okay,
They
cool.
loved it. Yeah. So I'm excited about hearing some more of that. I love hearing I just like hearing the people who are passionate about what it is that they're doing. It doesn't necessarily not about any technique in particular, but it's the people that you can hear that have the philosophy embedded in them, and that philosophy is coming out the whatever way it's coming out of them. And those are the people that I get really excited to hear. Whoever that is.
Yeah,
They're
and
just
that seems to
excited.
be a rare thing, sort of in the
Yeah.
science realm, and that's where Dr. Mo, I'm so appreciative of her
Yeah.
and the work that she does. And I just shared one of her posts today. It seems like everything she posts, I'm like, yes, I want
I
more,
know.
saying that. But yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, they're a good combo. That's a good 1-2 punch for the females represented on the Mile High
Yeah.
stage. So yeah, I'm super excited for both of them. I've heard Katina speak before at the Artful convention that was put on
Really.
by Kairos Training Culture, Dr. Brett
Hmm.
Jones. Man, and that was some years ago. I can't even remember, maybe 2018. But yeah, she just rocks the house every time, and
Yeah.
she pours out her heart in everything that she does, and she makes it contagious.
Yeah.
Whatever she's talking about, you're there. So yeah, I'm super excited for both of them too. Awesome. Uh, yeah, well, that's pretty much all the questions that I had for you. I'm super excited to see everybody in person
Me
at
too.
Mile High,
Yes.
celebrating chiropractic and really the philosophical backbone that that gives rise to our profession. And
Yeah.
we've got to focus this year on the art. Yeah, we've already mentioned technique, and that's one of the application of the
Yeah.
art. And so that's going to be front and center this year for Mile High. And students can get tickets for $50 uh,
Hmm.
to get in. Most seminars, as I'm sure you know, are much more expensive than that
Yeah.
typically. And when I was a student at Parker, I had never even heard of Mile High. I don't know how, but wasn't spoken about or marketed or what, I don't know. But
Yeah.
if you're a student that's hungry for the philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic, Mile High is a great distillation point for all of those things, where it all comes together, and you get to find that community with people that
Yeah.
are fellow students from around the globe, really, uh, and doctors that have recently graduated, and some that have been in practice for decades. So it's a really good place to get steeped and grounded in your why, and it's a refilling. You'll go back
Yeah.
to class, you'll go back to practice, so filled up and ready to serve. And I can tell you that from personal experience. My first Mile High was 2 years ago, and I was just starting a practice from scratch. And there comes a point where you just feel like you're the only one that's dealing with these certain problems or whatever it is, and you can just
Yeah.
get weighed down by the world. And we all need to just refresh every now and then, and that's why it's so important to get to as many events and seminars as you can throughout school and afterwards. I can
Yeah.
tell you, to stoke that fire, to keep it going, and give you can only give from a full cup. cup. So if your cup is empty, there's not much that you can give. So keep filling it back up. And it sounds like you're doing all the right things. And I'm glad when we started this that you said your last name, because I would not have pronounced that
Yeah.
correctly. I was just thinking that. I was like, oh, I'm glad I stopped at Rachel and didn't attempt the last name. But yeah, that's amazing. Well, cool. So good to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So students, get out there and register, and docs, register, and I hope to see everybody there at Mile High.